Bobby Lashley retains the United States Championship despite thoughts that Triple H's new toy was about to take it off him. We're going to get into everything Bobby Lashley and where he should really be on the card after his current run in just a second. So stay tuned. This is WrstlXtra.
Yo. This is WrstlXtra, and I'm very hot right now. I'm your boy, A Dazzle, the Black Wrestling Advocate. Of course, always joined by my tag team partner, Mex, the WrestleManiac, if you will. Bobby Lashley is still the current reigning, defending, undisputed, United States champion after defeating Tommaso Ciampa on Raw last night. Great match, decent match, I must say. Ciampa brought his A game, which was nice to see. It was very weird to kind of see big, massive Bobby Lashley, against the small, compared to him, Tommaso Ciampa. But the guy made it work and made it quite believable that it was possible he could actually beat him, especially when he hit him with that submission hold. I was like,
Yeah. Had him in it for a minute.
I was a little worried, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
Some shenanigans from Miz, of course, but he was dealt with by AJ Styles. So the big talk is we've still got Lashley as United States champion, which is amazing, which is great. I don't necessarily expect Ciampa to come after him again or anything like that. Possible, but there was nothing, after the match kind of suggest anything like that necessarily. But where does Bobby Lashley go from here? Now, we've talked about this a number of times on the show, where Bobby Lashley's going, where this whole United States Championship thing is going. He seems very proud to be United States champion. I think just yesterday, he tweeted about, 16 years ago, he became United States champion for the first time. So, he's making a big thing of this, and I'm glad to see that. I'm hoping that we get that same thing from WWE, Triple H, and everything else. But Mex kind of came to me with a very interesting topic or outlook on this whole thing. Where does Lashley go from here? Mex, I'm going to let you take this one and fill us in on your thought process right now when it comes to the Almighty.
Yeah, well, firstly, like you were saying, the match with Ciampa, I honestly think that is probably one of the best matches Lashley has had in a long while on TV. Like, his matches are very dominant. Like, we were probably let down by his biggest match. Was it this year? Him versus Lesnar. Just didn't really, come together. But I think this match was really, really good. Ciampa, I think from last week, sold us on this match. Like, you have to watch this match because I'm going to win this championship. And this is part of the whole thing. Everyone was a bit scared, like, okay, we know Ciampa is very close to Triple H. What's going to happen here, sort of thing. When it wasn't in the main event, I was thinking, well, maybe they'll still do a title change in the middle of the show. Who knows? Because I did think, like, Lashley can't lose here, but the Ciampa gas was too much. They even gave him a promo on the show before the match. Like, man came out in Harley Race. Yeah, man came out in Harley Race robe and everything. I thought, nah, they're going for it. And the match was really, really good. Very, very good match. And it was good to see, even through that, I felt like both men got elevated up another level. Ciampa's no longer in Miz's shadow at all, I don't think. Bobby Lashley, for whatever reason, which we've been saying since maybe about just after WrestleMania, Money in the Bank, the crowd have been electric for Bobby Lashley. It's good to see it's organic, but God knows why. I don't know, like, where it just it just happened. But we're all here for it. But yeah, like you were saying, it made me think, like, we're all looking right now at the big dog, the man with the titles, Roman Reigns, and we're thinking, like, all right, is Drew gonna beat him in Wales? Some people are for it, some people are not for it, some people believe it, some people don't believe it. Cody Rhodes is another name being mentioned. And why hasn't Lashley got a go at the champion for the championship? I know there was a time before WrestleMania, they were entangled in some type of story where I think Drew was as well somewhere. But Lashley hasn't got an opportunity at Roman for these championships. I don't want him to get a championship opportunity now while he's United States champion, because I think it'll be quite telling, he wouldn't win. But if there's anyone that's been consistently booked at the top end of the card for the past 18 months to maybe 2 years now, started with his first United States championship run, it's Bobby Lashley. And
it's gotta be.
We talk about even, the gulf. I know we was having this conversation back in January when it was Lesnar versus Lashley, and then Roman came and just messed up the entire match. And we know we speak of this gulf of Roman and Brock are here, and Lashley is probably on this next tier down or several tiers down, even if he is next. But really and truly, if we're looking at just a performance over time, Lashley is due a title shot at Roman Reigns. And again, there's been reports this past week that USA Network aren't happy with just Roman being champion over on Fox, over on SmackDown. They need a champion. They've spoken about maybe having an interim title on Raw and just some other kind of messy stuff. The long and short of it is Roman needs to drop at least one of those titles so that Raw can have a champion. And again, I'm just looking at viable candidates, and I don't see anyone better than Bobby Lashley right now. Am I gassing it or what?
It's crazy because we're talking also, obviously, the imminent match is Roman versus Drew. And let's be very honest, Drew's last 12 months haven't been anything special necessarily. Yes, he's been doing his thing, but it's kind of very mid-card, really. Upper mid-card type stuff. Very inconsistent. Whereas, as you said, with Lashley, it's been very consistent. He may not have been facing the biggest names maybe the last 6 months, and he's got the United States Championship, but it's clear there's an effort, whether it be on his part personally or with WWE, to kind of elevate this championship again. And he beat Vince McMahon's favorite in theory to win that championship. That says something. That says a lot, actually, to be honest. And I think it is quite weird that it's been so long that Lashley hasn't kind of come face to face with Roman Reigns in any real way. Yes, we've done the Brock Lesnar thing, and that's what we waited for since Lashley returned, and blah, blah, blah. And Roman got involved, unfortunately. But, we've not really had any kind of confrontation between those two. Maybe, my mind's saying this, maybe that's happening because of us needing, or WWE wanting to build Lashley to where when it actually comes to him facing Roman Reigns or coming face to face with Reigns in some way, that it means something. So you're kind of like, right, this could actually go either way. Especially now with the crowd being on his side and all that kind of stuff. I just don't, as you said with Drew, you've kind of got this divide. You know what I mean? Drew, a year ago, yeah, all day long, we kind of just wait. When those two faced each other, I think it was Survivor Series, that was the match everybody wanted to see. Now, that feeling is not there in the same way at all. It feels big because it's going to be in the UK. Of course, Drew is the biggest star in the WWE from the UK. But that's the only reason why there's some level of, anticipation for it. If this was just at, I don't know, a Saudi show or any other pay-per-view, we kind of wouldn't care. You know what I mean? We wouldn't be thinking, oh, there's a possibility. We'd just be like, okay, Roman's going to win this one. So, but the question actually is, though, would that be the same say if Lashley was to lose the United States Championship in some way to whoever, doesn't really matter. And then we get Roman Lashley. Do you actually think the anticipation would be there for us to wonder, oh, Lashley could actually do this?
I think so to a certain degree, and depending how they write it.
Yep.
I mean, like you rightly said, the way they are framing Lashley, like even with the change in his entrance, giving him that podium and all of that stuff, like as much as we hated it, you know, this thing. You know what? When he won at SummerSlam, when he beat Theory at SummerSlam, there was one angle that they showed, and the whole crowd was doing it with him.
Everybody did
Bro,
it.
I was sold. I said, I'm in.
Listen,
I'm here doing this.
I was eating my words, bro, when I saw everyone do it. In the same way everyone does the whole Balor does, when he comes out and does his thing. I was like, oh, it's actually working.
Yeah. He's got them doing that nonsense. Like they brought in the way the whole crowd done it in sync and the camera caught it. I said, no, okay, something's happening here. If they want it to happen, like they've got something here for sure. I would say, almost akin to how Keith Lee had the North American Championship and won the NXT Championship and then gave up the North American Championship.
Right.
I think that's the best way, because all of a sudden, like if a man already with a title, as you know, presentation like Bobby Lashley turns up on Roman's door, you're like, okay, hello, like what's gonna happen here? Because all of a sudden he wants, 3 titles, I guess it would be, because Roman's got 2. So and then he can say humbly, right, I done so and so for the United States Championship to bring it to prominence, and I want to give this opportunity to others, something like what Keith Lee done, and almost drop the belt that way, and they can run some tournament to crown a new champion. I think that would be the best way to go about it, rather than him lose and then take the step up, unless it's like a multi-man match that he's in and he doesn't get pinned or some other kind of thing like that.
Right. That would be very interesting, to be honest. Actually, I think I think that makes a lot of sense, because if he builds this championship to where it probably should be, he'll then have the I guess the worthiness in order to to come after Roman Reigns. To see him with both championships or 3 would be crazy. I mean, we've seen him do it before in Impact, but obviously Impact is Impact. So to a point, to a degree, no one really, I wouldn't say cares, but it's not the same. It's definitely not the same thing. But I think that would be very, very interesting. It would be very interesting to see that happen. It now means that for me, I think Roman Reigns will beat McIntyre. I can't think of anyone else who would be. Obviously, we've got an injured Cody Rhodes. Seth Rollins is probably the only other person I can think to be a worthy, realistic contender to Reigns, and to where you think, oh, he could win. But then even with the way it happened at SummerSlam, for Roman to beat Brock again, you're kind of like, who else is there? Who are they gonna actually make beat Roman? Who are they gonna build to that level to where they actually beat Roman Reigns? It just seems so unfathomable right now. So that there's to be done outside of Roman Reigns in order to build someone to get there. McIntyre, it hasn't happened with McIntyre. I'm sorry. As much as I'm a massive admirer of Drew McIntyre, it hasn't happened like that for him at all. So I'm not seeing him winning. I'd actually be surprised, maybe a little upset, if he was to beat Reigns. But yeah, I think Lashley is the only other person I can think of apart from Seth Rollins. Because even the whole Cody Rhodes thing, for me, Cody Rhodes winning is only the draw and not so much the realistic. He can the believable for me. It just isn't. I think it really is only 2 people, Rollins or Bobby Lashley. But Lashley needs a very specific, focused build in order for us to feel as though it's going to be very possible for him to beat Reigns.
For me, with
Who knows?
with Drew, I feel like right now, like Clash of the Castle is in what 3-4 weeks. Like it's just come too soon. He's been dilly-dallying with Sheamus for the past 2 months. I feel like right for Drew to become champion now, he needs to like face Roman like another 2 or 3 times. Like he has to keep losing until the point where he goes Super Saiyan and finds some next thing within him to beat Roman. Like if you remember back in the day when it was like Goldberg versus Triple H, and Triple H had the world championship in a headlock, and Goldberg just couldn't find the way, like he was just struggling to overcome Triple H, and not just Triple H, Evolution. And that's pretty much, you know, Roman, long reign. He's got the bloodline by his side. Like Drew has to struggle for at least a month or 2 to overcome all of these men before he becomes, and that's the real babyface story of this. You see what I mean? Like Lesnar couldn't overcome all of these men in the last man standing match. They had to basically kill my man and bury him on the rubble. Like, so there's no way Drew can just walk into Wales and pin him 1, 2, 3. Like that's really just, okay, it's your turn to be champion. Like it's not believable. You haven't made us get to that point yet. Then if it's not Drew, like you said, Lashley's the only other person that's so far been booked to a position, and he hasn't had much of an interaction with Roman. So that's very believable. Cody, again, it's just for doing its sake, for draw purposes and all of that. And then we've got Gunther. I mean, again, I think he's been booked very well, but he should have come in for Roman, like, and taking it from him from minute go. You see what I mean? And then now we've got Cross as well, which Cross could be believable, but it's just how they build him. Like whilst he's on SmackDown, if they wanted him to beat Roman, they need to distance from each other a bit more. Let Cross go on a tear and then turn up at Roman's door.
I think with that one, I think it's quite telling that we're going to see Cross and McIntyre. Whether he gets involved in that match, who knows? But at the same time, I think Cross is going to be breathing down McIntyre's neck more than he'll be breathing down Roman's. Cross has done it a number of times. He did it a number of times in NXT where, you know, Scarlett came out with the Sandtimer and all the rest of it towards someone, but then he wasn't focused on that person straight away. He was still dealing with someone else, or had, you know, dealings with someone else, and then came for the champion and all the rest of it. So I think that's very much what we're going to see with this as well. I've already seen that, you know, there's talk of Cross being a number 2 heel to Roman. So you're not going to have the 2 top heels go at it. It's just not going to work like that. That's just not how wrestling. That's just not how pro wrestling works at the end of the day. So I'm certain we're gonna get, you know, Cross doing his thing to one side and going on a tear, as you said, and then eventually come for the champion, whether that still be Roman Reigns or someone else, we don't know yet. So yeah, you know, it kind of almost already is this thing where we're seeing Roman's gonna retain in some way. And then someone else is going to come from him. And I really can't see anyone else. Apart from Bobby Lashley, because even with Riddle's had a chance, you know, didn't quite get there. Rollins is a heel. You could argue a tweener at the moment, kind of in between the two. When them two faced each other a few months back, you know, it was definitely one of those ones that had the crowd, you know, divided between the two for sure. So that would definitely happen again if those two were to meet. So that's why I say it's only those two. Lashley right now is the top babyface, even if that focus isn't necessarily on him like that. As you said, this consistency of his booking, it's too good, and with the way the crowd's behind him, it's too good to ignore. It's way too good to ignore. So time will tell. Time will tell.
They call him the Almighty, for God's sake. Like, come on, like if you're calling one of these people the tribal chief, then the Almighty must be the catalyst. That's the guy to go against, isn't it? Like,
right.
It makes sense in terms of who they're building. Just to jump into the comments, Ola's Gaming, big up Ola. He says, Drew will win. I guess that's at Clash, and Cross will challenge him next. That's his prediction. And also probably get a brand split as well. Then, so then we get Lashley Roman. The brand split has been rumored that Triple H wanted to come in and kind of just do a brand split. Sorry, a draft, so that it just jiggles things up a bit. But we'll see.
We talk about this, Triple H era now that we're fully in. When it comes to the WWE, Vince is gone. Triple H is in control, like literally in control. So we saw, Ciampa's match against Lashley. We've seen Karrion Kross come back. We saw this excellent little subtle thing with Dexter Lumis yesterday on Raw. We've seen the Dakota Kai, Io Sky, Bayley's come back. We're seeing all these things. And the big talk has been for the last 2, maybe 3 weeks now is who's going to be next. And I mentioned this on in response to someone on Twitter yesterday. The question was asked, what are you most excited about this week in wrestling? And I said, it's crazy. I said, it's watching WWE now is like watching AEW, where AEW always seemed to had this period of time for a very, very long time to where someone new was coming in every single week, whether it be both Dynamite and Rampage, or at least one of the two each week. And that's where we're at right now with WWE. The talk is who's coming back, who else is going to bring back, who's going to be the first to go back from AEW, all that kind of talk. So I guess my question now is, in your mind, give me maybe 3, maybe 5, if you have, black wrestlers who you think, one realistic at least, and give me at least one which is kind of like a wild card type of choice, who you think could come back to the WWE.
That's a lot. I don't even know if that many black people are available. There's probably people on some kind of like shorter deals that might finish within the next 6 months that he can snap up and bring in and stuff like that. Ola has said mine. Ola has said mine. That's my number one, because I don't know if you've seen on Instagram, especially Lio Rush is posting up his greatest hits right now. And it's almost as if a deal has been done, and he's just like reminding you lot, like, this is what I'm capable of, and I'm on my way back, sort of thing. And this will be what the 3rd time he's gone there now, sort of thing. Hopefully this is the one that works out for him, if it's the case. But I think Lio Rush could be up there on the list. He's got it all: the ability in ring, the character, and again, like I said, they've brought him in more than once. Even when he came back the 2nd time, I think he was doing excellent work when he was away from Lashley. He was just allowed to wrestle. He was in the whole cruiserweight thing. He was doing some great stuff. So I'm hoping that Lio Rush is that person. Who's these other guys? What are they called again? Hitmakers. I mean, top dollar for me, because he had ties with the company before through doing the presenting stuff. He's always someone that I thought, that could work. And obviously Asante the Adonis was in there, not doing anything major really, especially before the group came to pass. But he was just like a trusted hand in there as well. And Brianna Brandy was training for quite a while there as well. So maybe them. The other group I would like to see come in is Shane Taylor Promotions. I just think the shake-up, exactly that is the shake-up, is what could they bring on this level? Like, very different to other kind of, New Day. They're nothing like the New Day. They're nothing like the Street Profits. They will carve their own lane in what they're doing. So I think it could be very interesting. If I can give one name that I'm still worried for,
okay,
Omos. I think Omos is done out here. I think his legs are gonna get cut from beneath him. We saw him back on Raw this past week after not being on Raw for maybe 2-3 weeks, and he's back to doing squash matches, handicap.
Right.
It's like they don't like. It's mad to think when I was saying Triple H doesn't know what to do with you, but I don't think the belief that the ability is there to do something with him. Even the likes of, for those that have seen what's his face, Babatunde, Dabakato, whatever you want to call him, Commander Aziz, he's going to move back to NXT, and I think he's forming some type of something with Cora Jade. Like, yeah, I think he's like Cora. He's going to be Cora Jade's heavy. They've been running this kind of skit between them on the like Florida loop. So that looks like that's a move that's happening. And I can't see anything different than maybe something like that for Omos. Like, Omos might have to just go back down, kind of start again, and just it looks more like anything. It's the like wrestling training he needs more than anything character-wise stuff like. So yeah, I think that's the kind of movement as for our black wrestlers. There's people I still want to see. Mia Yim, I want to see her back, but I'm assuming she's under contract. There's a couple other like ladies and stuff on the indies and stuff that could come through, but it's all contractual stuff at the minute. So yeah, we just gotta see.
My thoughts are you know what, I did not think about Lio Rush at all, but that's a very very strong one. I didn't think about him at all. I've got 2 wild cards. Obviously, we know that everybody wants to see Sasha and Naomi come back. There's that one, of course, top of the list, regardless of race, gender, and all the rest of it. Those 2 are literally top of the list. There were 2 people I was thinking of that are, for me, wild cards, but I think they could make it work. The first one I want to see return is not a wrestler. Josiah Williams. Yeah. He needs to come back. I think he needs to come back. Triple H was a massive fan of this guy. He had him doing so much stuff. Online broadcaster, I think his official role was at one point. Online content creator, all the rest of it, all of that kind of stuff. And I think he still has so much to offer as a presenter, as a broadcaster, just a whole lot of stuff with him.
He works for AEW.
Does he? I know he was working at Disney World.
Yeah, he works at AEW.
Never knew that.
Yeah.
I completely missed that one. I mean, I know he's done a few tracks for a couple of people and whatever, but I never knew he was working with AEW like that. The other wild card, but I think it could so work. I don't know how exactly, but I really think it could so work. Is JTG.
Oh, you okay? Yeah.
JTG. JTG, formerly of Crime Time, of course, but the way that man looks now,
he looks different.
He's just hench. He's already jacked. Everything. He's got his whole. I think he calls himself Jay the God now. And for every reason, he's been doing his thing on NWA most recently. Still doing a lot of stuff on the Indies, and he's got this whole swag. He's definitely come into his own right now, and he's been teasing this whole or I wouldn't say begging in the negative sense, but kind of like, I want this comeback.
Give me a second go.
Give me a second go. And I think for me, if there is any time to do it, this would be a very, very good time. He could come in and do his thing. I just think he's the guy for me that if I had anyone unexpected to come back in and would get the pop that he wouldn't, expected, not over the top. It wouldn't be AJ Styles or Royal Rumble type pop. It's not gonna happen like that, of course. But I think it would still be to a point where people are like, yeah, I'm interested.
Yeah.
I think for me, he's a very much a wild card, but would work. Hitmakers again, very strong, very strong shout with Top Dollars Association, with the stuff that he was doing before he even was on TV wrestling. He was presenting with the I think it was the Hidden Treasures or something Treasures series. Triple H was very much, in the middle of all of that as well. So he has a strong shout. He's been doing his thing on the indies as well. So he's got a strong shout. But for me, I think JTG is that one guy that I'm like, could actually work. And it quite realistic, even though surprising, it would be quite realistic for that to happen.
I just don't think he's Triple H's kind of guy to sign. Like Triple H, we've seen he is very much the whole, if they're not going to create you from scratch, that is, he's very much the whole indie darling, signing those kind of guys.
Yeah.
And obviously right now he's on a mission to get back people that he's already worked with that obviously got thrown to the wayside unjustly. So I'm even thinking beyond that, if JTG was to come in, where would he fit? Where does he go? Where does he slide in with things?
That's a true question. That's a true question. I wouldn't know. I just know that with his current character, this whole, I'm untouchable, I'm a god, he comes out with this big fur coat kind of thing and whatnot. He's got something to work with. How he comes in, I'm not too sure. Possibly this is just top of my head, but possibly with Carmelo Hayes. Carmelo Hayes comes to the main roster, MVP's involved, and JTG's involved. That for me would be
a couple of them.
That for me would be phenomenal. I think that would be amazing. And they all kind of fit this whole prestigious black kind, untouchable type of characters. So I think they would fit together very nicely. And then with Trick Williams as the little,
man,
kind of shaggy type of let me at him kind of, just always in someone's ears in some way. I think that would work as almost like I don't really want to say it like this, but almost as a Hurt Business point, 2.0 because NXT have killed that whole 2.0 talk. But yeah, I think for me that would be it. I can't think of anyone else that has been in the company that I would want to see or a really, begging to see come back. Mia Yim, I don't know. Even if she wasn't with Impact, it just didn't work out for her. So as much as she was signed because of Triple H, anything that they tried to do just didn't work out. Sometimes for very different reasons and all the rest of it, but it just didn't work. So I'm not sure whether whether there'd be an anticipation for her to come back.
There wouldn't be, but I would argue her position was her position and she played it. She was never meant to be, in my opinion, a world champion. She was never supposed to be. She was meant to just be the competent woman that can come in and have good matches with anyone, put over people. And she did that. She always did that. The one thing I always feel bad for her is that she was kind of robbed from, I think, the War Games match, the first women's War Games match she was supposed to be in, and she got beaten up backstage. And I can't remember who they put in instead of her. That would have, I guess, been like one of the highlights of her career, being involved in that first ever match. But other than that, I think she's just, a good someone that they can rely on, a good worker, and you can use her however they wish. And maybe if she got organically over with the crowd, she could be pushed higher up. It's nothing that people are going to scream and go mad for, but I feel like even with her going back to Impact, it's like she's done that. That's where she came from, wasn't it? So I want these people to at least get to the place where you dreamt of, as you started this career, you dreamt of working and making a career of it right here. So for me, if anything, it might be even more sentimental than her, the crowd crying for her to come back.
Right. I mean, it would be very interesting to see how this plays out, who else is coming back. As I said before, we've seen Karrion Kross, which was a massive surprise. Dexter Lumis doing his thing. We're seeing the resurgence of a few different names currently as well, who are already with the company, like Kevin Owens, for example, and Tommaso Ciampa has had a little opportunity and been doing his thing as well. So again, it's this whole kind of anticipating what's going to happen next, who's going to come back, who's going to show up, and all that kind of thing right now in WWE. And it's very exciting to be back in that excited place when it comes to WWE. It's been a very long time.
Yeah.
But it's going to be interesting to see. Now we're talking about worthy contenders. We spoke about Bobby Lashley as the possible world champion. Over in AEW, we have seen Jay Lethal face Wardlow for the TNT Championship, and he's been mixing it up with Wardlow for the last maybe 2 or 3 weeks. Kind of indirectly first, of course, with Wardlow coming out to help Orange Cassidy and those guys there. But now we're kind of getting this real feud, direct feud with Wardlow and Jay Lethal. There's already been talk on the Twitter with people kind of questioning Wardlow's run since becoming TNT champion. That hasn't changed since he faced Jay Lethal. So my question is Jay Lethal a real contender or a worthy contender for the TNT championship?
I mean, yes, I would say yes, but like ultimately he's lost, isn't it?
Yeah.
The match was on the weekend. He lost his opportunity. Then he went back to beating up Wardlow afterwards. Like, this is where, for sure, I expected Jay Lethal to slide into things when he was signed. I didn't expect to see him as low down as doing Dark and all of that kind of stuff. Neither did I expect to see him in the world title picture. This is exactly where I expected him. But even story-wise, this is the lower mid-card. This is just... Nobody cares about this. Like, no one cares about the whole Satnam Singh and Sanjay Dutt and Lethal running around. And he's went from the TV championship in ROH to now the TNT championship here. He's lost both. Yep. Best friends are involved, or are they involved? Because they didn't even come to make the save on Sunday or Saturday night, whenever that was. Wardlow, like you were saying, the title run is knackered already. We don't really have any reason to still be overly invested, apart from we like Wardlow power bombing people. Like, I don't know, Jay Lethal. These men will be safe because, like I say, whenever ROH does form and have whatever they're doing on TV, I'm sure these men will just migrate over there and they'll be calm over there. But really and truly, like, it's not what I paid to see, mate. Like that.
This is why I asked the question, because it goes two ways. It's like when we first saw Jay Lethal come to AEW, and it was kind of made a bit of a big thing in the first 2 weeks, and then within 4 weeks it was on Dark. But then you have to look at who Jay Lethal is, or his legacy. His accolades. Longest reigning ROH champion of all time, Triple Crown ROH champion, was once the tag team and television champion as well. And you're just like, so why are we looking at Jay Lethal as if he's not a worthy contender for the TNT championship? But as we said, when he first came to AEW, his whole year before that kind of wasn't prestigious, if that makes any sense, really. He was kind of overtaken by Jonathan Gresham, who at the time was kind of his protege for a while in ROH, and then kind of overstepped him and all that kind of stuff. So I think that is what's hindering us from looking at Jay Lethal like, oh, yeah, Wardlow versus Jay Lethal. Yeah, this is what I want to see. And then, of course, we've had this whole thing with Satnam Singh and Sanjay Dutt, which kind of a bit comedic. And, he's a heel, yes, but it's that kind of comedic heel, or, smarmy type heel, and you're just like,
Yeah.
he's gonna beat Wardlow, who has decimated 20 security guards in the past, and all this other stuff. And then you're thinking, this is the TNT Championship as well. This ROH television, him versus Jay Lethal versus Samoa Joe was like, yeah, I can do this. Let's go. This is ROH legacy. This is this is prestigious when it comes to ROH.
Yeah.
AEW TNT Championship, not so much. And you're just like, so what are we doing with the question more so now is, so what are we doing with Wardlow? There are so many people on in AEW who we've wanted to see challenge for a TNT championship or want them to be TNT champions. But yet Wardlow's messing with Jay Lethal. It sounds so bad to say it like that, but it's the truth of the matter.
Yeah. I mean, it's a good win for Wardlow against someone of the stature of Jay Lethal.
Of course.
But like we're saying, the story itself is not a good story. I think Wardlow probably needs to get a couple more defenses, whoever caliber of people come out, get a couple of defenses under his belt. Will Hobbs needs to put him on notice. Will Hobbs needs to put this guy on notice. And when we get the slugfest, that is Will Hobbs versus Wardlow, that is what it's gonna be. That's what we're kind of waiting for at this point in terms of the next guys lining themselves up. Because when Ricky Starks and Will Hobbs eventually have their blow off, this title should be involved. And if Ricky Starks if that's where he's gonna beat Will Hobbs and then he takes the belt on for a period, that's what needs to happen. It's a pity that we thought, okay, Wardlow can take this belt to another level, because obviously these men were dilly-dallying with it before him, Scorpio Sky and Sammy Guevara. So far, it's not looked like that. So far, it looks like we're having the same old AEW booking big men and not being able to book big men and stuff like that. Right now, again, with Will Hobbs, he looks good, but Will Hobbs, one, he's still, I guess, entangled with the story in Starks, so that's going to carry him for a while. And then, secondly, my head's gone blank. I can't remember the second thing, but yeah, I think Hobbs. Whilst they're in stories, these guys will always look fine. Like Wardlow looked all right when the whole MJF stuff was going on. It's once they're out of story, it's like, okay, how do we now involve them in something meaningful? But yeah, I definitely say Will Hobbs, Ricky Starks. Those are the next couple guys that need to get their paws on the TNT Championship.
I mean, we've got the potential for, with Wardlow being a big guy, AEW not being the greatest at, booking big guys in the past. But we've got this potential to have so many big guys challenge Wardlow, whether they're believable champions or not. The simple fact that Wardlow's a big guy, they're big guys, it would be in itself is enough to anticipate whatever outcome or whatever match comes. We've got Will Hobbs, as you mentioned. There's Rusev. I believe he's injured again. Miro even.
Yeah.
You could even do possibly something with Brody King. It's a shame. Yep, it's a shame Keith Lee's tag team champion at the moment. You got Keith Lee. Even if we went down the Lance Archer route, I think that's kind of almost dead in the water. They've already killed that man.
Oh yeah, 100%. He's tired,
destroyed that man. Just in the same way they messed up with Brian Cage as well.
Maybe even a Go-Go. A Go-Go's there. He's not doing much of anything right now, and he might still be learning and all of that stuff. But like, a Go-Go is there.
He has enough. I mean, that for me would be enough of a challenge to be intriguing, but at the same, you're not thinking a Go-Go's necessarily going to beat Wardlow, but he has enough, especially with this whole knockout ball thing. It doesn't really matter. You can look at it as like, it doesn't really matter how big the person is. If I hit you, you're done.
Yeah.
So if he comes to Wardlow with that, you know, I'm a write to Tony Khan and say, look, let me just write this thing because you're struggling, mate. You know, I mean, let me just do it because that is so. It's simple. It's very very simple. You even got Luchasaurus, but he's kind of mixed up with this not knowing who he wants to be friends with.
Dark side and all. Yeah.
Some madness. That in itself is a whole lot of madness as well.
You're not enjoying it. I think that's all right.
I think the whole switch back and forth was way too quick.
Oh yeah. I think he hasn't switched yet, but that's another story.
Okay, fair enough. But yeah, there are so many other people, you know, as I said, other big men, and just other guys in general that could face Wardlow to build his reign as the TNT champion, while at the same time giving us intriguing matches to where we see even Ricky Starks. I think if Ricky Starks was to go for Wardlow now, you kind of maybe see the possibility of Starks winning, but at the same time, Wardlow beats Starks. Both of them could be elevated very easily. Wardlow carries on as TNT champion, and you've already elevated that title straight away, especially with how hot Ricky Starks is now. Again, as you already mentioned, Powerhouse Hobbs would be perfect right now. He doesn't have to win at all. But again, both of them, both guys would be elevated in almost instantly just from them two coming to blows. So we're going back to the original question of Jay Lethal. Yes, Jay Lethal has the accolades and the prestige of his ROH past, but it doesn't do anything for Wardlow. It hasn't done anything for Wardlow. People are still kind of like now questioning what AEW are doing with Wardlow, who they built for so long in almost the perfect way.
Yeah.
But it was one of those stories though where you thought, right, as soon as we get to the destination, then what?
Yeah.
And that's literally what's happening now.
Yeah.
That's literally what's happening now. It's a shame because Wardlow could be a massive star, but they just don't know what they're doing with him right now. Speaking of not knowing what to do with them right now, I think we are in the very same place now with Jade Cargill.
Yeah.
It's a very worrying time for me when it comes to Jade Cargill, because we've said it before. We said it a couple of weeks ago. I believe we kind of mentioned it again last week, where the last month and a half maybe has been confusing.
I think it's been longer than that, but yeah.
I'm trying to be nice here. And the main reason is, and this is more so my focus when it comes to this topic now. The main reason for me is this whole thing with Stokely Hathaway. We talked about it briefly last week. It's been a week and there's still no clear sight as to what actually is going on with this guy. Talk me through what's happened, what's happening, and why. I mean, I'm hoping you can answer that question because I certainly can't.
Bro, I don't know. Like firstly, it was this Layla Gray. He's trying to get Layla Gray involved.
Yep.
Jade, obviously the person in charge, she hasn't really commissioned Layla Gray to become a baddie. Mm-hmm. There was this whole thing on Rampage this past week where Layla Gray lost her match to Madison Rayne.
Yep.
Then Jade came out and basically laid out the gauntlet and stuff. Madison Rayne accepted. Didn't really come to Layla Gray's defense, so to speak. Obviously, the whole time Stokely was at ringside with Layla Gray. Then we've seen him a couple of weeks ago, approaching Lee Moriarty. I think it was last week where he approached Ethan Page.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, what's your job here? Are you her manager? They say you're calling your publicist. Now, yeah, you can be publicist for several people, but you're muddying the waters, bro. Like, this is pro wrestling. You don't need just have a manager to one person. Like, show us you're capable of, okay, you got this person over, or you elevated this person, or you helped them in this way before you start joining on to other people. Ethan Page, what does he need a manager for? He hasn't even really been on TV. He came out to have a moan. He cut a good promo.
Yep.
He doesn't need a talker next to him. Like, I don't understand what if Ethan Page needs a manager for. Lee Moriarty, okay, maybe, but What I'm concerned with is that you're ruining Jade's brand. Like you're calling
Ultimately, that's what's happening.
yeah, Jade brand, Jade brand, Jade brand. But Mark Sterling, now Stokely Hathaway, you man aren't doing nothing for the brand. You're just making it look more questionable. It's descending into a bit of like, comedy. Who's in charge here? Like the asylums are running the inmates are running the asylum sort of thing. Just all looks a bit messy. Whereas before, when it was just Jade used to come out, basically tell what's his face, Smart Mark, to just shut up and stand in line. She comes out, she does her thing, looks dominant, moves on. And even with time, that would get old. But like, this isn't helping the baddies, in my opinion. It's not helping Jade. Jade will probably win come Wednesday against Madison Rain, but this title run, like I'm beginning to look around and think, all right, who's next? Because we might have to switch up something here, even if it's to switch it up and then Jade wins it back. Something needs to change with all of this soon, in my opinion. And even the way the whole Chris Statlander and Athena, they just died or something. Like, where are they? Like,
the confusion is very, very real right now, both with Stokely's role, with what Jade's doing, the whole brand, the whole baddies. And that's the real issue that I have with all of this. Like, look at what Stokely's doing with these different wrestlers, and if they were separate, cool. If it was just Stokely and Lee Moriarty, it works. Even if it was Stokely and Ethan Page, just them two, it would work. Obviously, we kind of, as soon as Stokely left NXT WWE, the first thing everyone was saying, Stokely with Jade. We got that. Why are we breaking? Why are we trying to fix something that was never broken? And that's the issue that I have here. We asked for something, we got it, but then you're now deciding to give us something completely different, and I don't understand why. Because even with this whole baddie search ring, at first it was cool. At first I was like, all right, I'm very intrigued, and I'm gonna blow my own trumpet here when I said Layla Gray should be the first person, and lo and behold, here she is. And even with this whole rift of her not necessarily being accepted by Jay, it could have been something. It could have easily been something, can turn into something, and whatnot. Maybe Layla Gray, would be the one to mess up Jade's championship, and someone wins because Layla Gray messed up or tried to help and didn't work out, and blah blah blah. All of that kind of stuff could have gone somewhere. But then to add to this confusion now, as you just said, we had Jade, we had Athena come to AEW, come straight for Jade, while Chris Statlander's kind of waiting in the wings. Them two become friends, and I was like, they're just completely gone.
Yep.
Like, I don't get it. And then we've got Madison Rain. Okay, Madison Rain, former Knockouts champion. I believe she is Impact Hall of Famer, I think.
She probably would be
quite recently. But then I'm also hearing that she's actually come into AEW to be a coach.
Yeah.
So we're not going to get no long-winded run from Madison Rain either. So I'm just intrigued. I mean, it's going to be nice for Jade to be able to say she has defeated Madison Rain. That comes with some kind of stature and whatnot and prestige. That's going to be great. But why? With the way it happened, Jade came out and was like, right, so I told Layla to handle business and she couldn't handle business, so I'm going to do it myself. At what point do you two have a conversation when you don't even like the woman? And when was that a thing? When were we supposed to know that Layla Gray came out to deal with Madison Rain on behalf of Jade?
Yeah.
This whole thing is just so confusing, and I'm now fearful that Jade is gonna fall into the issues of AEW booking women's wrestling, and it's happening very quickly. And I just don't get it. I don't know. And the scary thing is, I don't know what the answer is to this.
Like, I feel like if they want us to kind of turn Jade into, which I don't think it should be, but like almost like a Roman Reigns kind of, right? She's gonna be the statuesque person there, champion. She's gonna have her two sidekicks next to her, and it'll be a point where through building up someone else, whether it's Chris Statlander or whomsoever, they have to basically get past the baddies, get past the sidekicks until they meet the boss, and then they take down the boss. If that's what they're doing, then cool. But then this whole thing is, firstly, of Layla Gray, is she in or is she out? Like, let's just stop messing around. Like, is she in or is she out? Literally, like, and let's crack on. Then Stokely, I just think, just have the focus on Jade. I don't know what this is. With them putting him next to Lee Moriarty and Ethan Page and stuff, are they planning to use these guys frequently on TV? Because if they're not planning to use these guys frequently on TV, there is no point in this either.
Right.
Because if you got a manager and you're not on TV every week, at least a promo every week, what's your manager doing? What are they managing?
Why is he your publicist when he can't get you in the public eye?
Exactly. So unless they're planning to put these guys on TV consecutively now for the next few weeks, and maybe they make the pay-per-view as well, September the 4th, then I don't see the point in any of this. Stokely just needs to stick to Jade and just push that whole thing, because to be honest, I wouldn't say that the women's title has now kind of taken over from the TBS title again. I'll probably still say the TBS title is a bit more important in AEW currently, but the gap is probably closing because the TBS title ain't done a lot over the last month or so. Definitely. So it's a shame, but
it's worrying you mentioning the two championships, because you've not even got an out and out number one contender for this AEW Women's Championship, because she's now mixing it up with Toni Storm and doing this whole.
The last person she faced for the championship is now her best friend,
and they're now going on as if they are women's tag team champions almost.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So it's worrying to think that even though they're misbooking the women's champion, the gap is closing between the women's champion and the TBS championship, which was so far ahead only months ago. So that tells you a lot as well. Here's another point I wanted to make. It's intriguing to me that so many people made a big deal, and rightly so, of AEW kind of making managers a thing again. Because for a very long time, we never saw any managers for nobody. I think the only person that we saw or really cared about as a manager was Zelina Vega to Andrade back in WWE before he left. We've seen Jake the Snake. We see Stokely, Smart Mark. We've seen Vicky Guerrero, Arn Anderson, Tully Blanchard. All these guys and women do the manager thing, but which one has actually worked?
FTR ditched Tully.
Yep.
Obviously, Cody left, so left Arn Anderson.
Yep.
Jake the Snake, they just kept making Lance Archer lose.
He was just there.
Vicky Guerrero, I don't ever believe she did anything for Nyla Rose. Nyla Rose didn't need her. Who else did you mention?
Smart Mark. We've had the problem with him.
Yeah, Smart Mark.
Doing stuff with Tony Nese, and it's just kind of like,
they're not. I mean, when you put it like that, they're not really cracking it with their managers too tough, are they? Like, it's a shame. They're not.
And we kind of again, we asked for and we got Stokely with Jade, and we thought, right, this is going to do it. For a week or two, we were kind of anticipating something to happen, and it didn't really. He was great talking next to her. As he's just great on the mic regardless, so it doesn't really matter who it was with and who it was next to and all that kind of stuff. But it didn't, when you look back at it, it didn't actually make much difference or didn't elevate Jade in any way. And now, obviously, with this, it's just not. It's impossible for it to happen now. With him kind of, spreading himself too thin with the other two guys. And I just don't understand why and where it's going and what answers we're going to get to these questions. And how it's gonna play out. I'm just confused.
I'm sure you're not alone. I'm pretty sure they don't know what way it's going either. So we'll find out when we find out, innit?
And that right there is where the problem is. They don't know themselves. Oh man, this is pro wrestling, but we still love it for some strange reason. Guys, on that note, this is our time. This is WrstlXtra. You're watching on the WrestleManiac UK YouTube channel, listening on Affinity Extra. Don't forget to follow this guy, Mex the WrestleManiac, on Twitter, WrestleManiac UK, and Instagram, WrestleManiac.uk. Of course, like, subscribe, and click that notification bell on the WrestleManiac YouTube channel. As always, shout out to the mandem at Restings. Don't forget to follow them on YouTube as well. The greatest content from Black British, when I can say it properly, content creators in the pro wrestling business. You can follow me, A Dazzle, on Black Wrestling Alliance on Instagram, and BWA Dazzle on Twitter when I say stuff that no one listens to. Anyway, that has been our time. This has been WrstlXtra, and we will see you again next time.
See you next time, guys.